Why do we sit here being silent, watching our leaders turn into tyrants? Have they forgotten which side they're fighting for? Checks and balances set aside and rule of laws, youth and ours, and Constitution openly ignored. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Is it time for right and left to join a greater cause? Man, I'm not okay. The rich claim to be victimized just to attack the marginalized. Is 1% really worth more than all the sick and poor? Always preaching about fellowship while planning their dictatorship. Now we've seen how all of this plays out before. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call. Man, I'm not okay. Ever wonder all the mystery, why they whitewash our history, keep dividing is their plan? All in all, such a scam. Algorithm very sly, only used to spread the lies. Politicians know well, hate is simple to upsell. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call.
We are not okay. America is not okay, and we all know that. Former Congressman Joe Walsh, this is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Let's figure out how to get okay together.
Live.
How do you know
we're live, Joe?
How do you know we're live?
Because it says live right up there in the corner. See?
Oh, I got it. We're live. Cool.
I'm teaching an old dog new tricks, baby. Welcome everybody to Tequila Talk. I am Cliff Schecter. That is the much more important and accomplished Joe Walsh. He's got toilet paper. That's a good start. You've
been holding toilet paper every day for the last 3 or 4 days. Don't ask me why.
I'm going to ask you why. Are you eating salads?
I'm having some issues. I'm going to leave it at that.
Taylor Farms, baby. Taylor Farms. Diarrhea like you've never had in your life. That would be my commercial for them.
Come on. What's your slogan?
Diarrhea.
No.
It's what's for breakfast.
Every tequila talk. What do you say?
That's right. We have to start at tequila. Okay. Folks, tequila, it is cheaper than therapy. And my God, do we need some therapy this week? You know what? I didn't even grab my tequila, Joe. I'm grabbing it now.
I'm holding my toilet paper and my tequila.
Really? Is toilet paper and tequila, do you need anything else in life? Get a little Herradura here.
It's all I need.
I need a big shot. Do you need a shot? Let's do a shot.
I'll do a shot with you.
Like it's been a week, man. There's some angry people out there. Hi, Lord.
Hi, Cliff, my partner in crime. How are you? And what's on your mind, big fella?
I'm doing well. It's been a week. It's been an interesting week. I for a while stayed away from that dark and dreary billionaire owned paradise known as Twitter. And I went back over there and saw what I'd been missing that all you crazy fuckers are doing over there and thought, wow, I think I made a good choice to not be here as much. I mean, my Lord, there's always the right-wing Nazis and the insanity. The fights on the left going on right now are crazy. And yes, I've participated. And yes,
can I ask you a question before we start?
Yeah.
Because I'm very active on Twitter still. What, just as context, what made you a while back kind of ease up on the throttle on Twitter?
I think partially that it was a combination of things, all related to Musk. One, owning, being on a platform where a guy had heiled Hitler quite openly, felt like, do I want to participate in that? But I also felt like I want to get my message out as much as possible. So, for example, we're streaming to Twitter right now because I know that
Yeah.
it streams up in the corner there, and that works. But when it came to like putting stuff out there, I didn't find I was getting a huge amount of traction because what Twitter wants you to do is it wants you to fight with everybody. And I was just trying to put my message out there at that time. So I do go there, but I usually go there to put up like these videos when they're done and other videos we do, and then also Substack posts. I don't really this week. And again, I promised myself and I promised everybody, like, I'm not going to get into the personal attacks and stuff like that because it's gotten insane this week. And like I don't even know how we got here. I do know how we got here, but I mean, my whole thing has always been like, let's go and defeat the fascists together.
Wait, stop. Every now and then I'm gonna stop you when you start your train. When you say I don't know how we got here, and this is the talk radio guy in me, what do you mean by here?
Well, I also then corrected that and said I do know how we got here.
Well, what is the here?
Here is you've got you've got the DSA, and I won't call it a wing of the Democratic Party because DSA itself says it's not in the Democratic Party, right? So you've got a group of folks who are DSA, and then you've got the Democratic Party. And I'm going to get more specific than that because of what my true beliefs are, and that I will never shy away from. Even if I decide I'm not going to go and attack people, I will point out where I stand. And so then you've got what everybody says, the Democratic Party, and what they mean by that is the establishment, the people who've been failing, the ones that are scared to take on, Trump or think taking on Trump is a sternly worded letter. I wrote a piece.
Okay. So when you talk about how we got here, your here is there's a current food fight in the Democratic Party. There's kind of a fight between different factions right now in the Democratic Party. Go ahead.
Correct. And I will never stop when there are people that I think are misogynist, who are anti-Semitic, who are racist. I will not shy away from saying it. So I think Chevalier celebrating October 7th on October 8th is a horrific act. And who agreed with me? Brad Lander, who's also from that wing of the left wing of the party, because he quit DSA that day. So did 20 original founders. I feel pretty comfortable pointing that out. I will never stop pointing that out. What I won't do is I'm not going to go after some of the other commentators we've had disagreements with because it's gotten insane where we're going at each other, and I don't think it's worth it. What I do think it's worth it to point out is everybody acts like, and I'm going to write a piece about this, that you either are DSA, right? And I think there are too many folks. I think there have been some good ones. I think AOC has gotten a hell of a lot better, and I like her a lot overall. And there are others, and yet I do think there are members of DSA that seem to rejoice more in attacking other Democrats than attacking Republicans. I have a problem with that.
Where Cliff, because technically he is a DSA, where do you kind of put Mamdani in all of this?
So I had a real problem with the speech that he did on Netanyahu.
Arresting Netanyahu?
My big problem is when it's performative and when he knew he couldn't arrest him.
He has no authority.
It was just a big performance. But my bigger problem was it felt like he made it feel like an Oval Office address, the whole sort of, aesthetic of it, the music in the background. And again, when I bring up anti-Semitism, people don't understand, like, it's just like sexism. You can say certain things to men you can't say to women. This should be obvious to all of us. Well, there are certain things that are different. I'm sorry, if you're Jewish and you have been collectively blamed for things in history, like, well, the well ran dry, let's go burn down the Jews' houses in the Pale, when you just pick out Bibi Netanyahu, who I've called a war criminal, I think is a fascist and a horrible human being, but you don't mention Putin, you don't mention Erdogan, you don't mention Xi Jinping, you don't mention
any
Aliyev,
any Hamas leader,
right? Any Hamas, which all of them are war criminals and worse,
terrorists,
medieval, they're barbaric, they're terrorists. But where I'll give Mamdani credit, it took him till later, is when a member of the press asked him, so would you arrest members of Hamas? And maybe he was prepared for that by his staff after what happened, because he said right away, he said, He said, I have said I would arrest any war criminals. They are war criminals. I would arrest them too if they were to come here. So at least there he said that. But so I'll give him some credit for that. But you should, yeah, he gets credit for that because that was right. But you shouldn't have an address. First, if you, what would we say if you had an address where you just mentioned 5 black leaders from Africa and nobody else and said, I'm just going to arrest them? We'd say, sounds kind of racist, doesn't it?
So why did he, Cliff? Why did he have an address and only take on Netanyahu? Why?
There's one of two reasons. He's anti-Semitic, or he knows that his base likes anti-Semitism and he's playing to them.
And either one is pretty despicable.
Yes. I'm not going to claim to be I'm not a Mamdani fan at all. What I said I will not do is I'm not going to suddenly pretend that I am in favor of people that I'm not in favor of. I'm not in favor of El Sayed for a number of reasons I've given. I'm not in favor of Mamdani. I think Chevalier is awful. And Graham Plattner's a rapist. So these are truths I will not stop saying. But the thing that has really pissed me off, and I think it pissed me off the most in Michigan about how it became Stevens versus, and I support Stevens, let me be clear, because of numerous things I've said about El Sayed. But what pissed me off is you had Mallory McMorrow there. And to me, that is the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. You have DSA, who aren't Democrats and seem to be animated by angry populism. And you need something.
And animated by anti-Israel fervor.
Continue. Oh, there's no doubt. But that's part of the angry populism. It's a big part. It's that congressional candidate. What's his name? I don't know his name. It doesn't really matter. And he of course, is a wealthy white boy like Plattner who cosplays, being a working class guy in Michigan. And he said the black imperialist structure is holding me down, which led Clyburn and the CBC to endorse Haley Stevens because El Sayed had endorsed him. If blacks and Jews have been the two most loyal groups in the Democratic Party by far in terms of voting, and I think we brought up Mamdani, he may find that out because they make up 1/3 of the population in New York City and a much larger population than that in the Democratic Party. And some of the people he's endorsed have said direct things insulting both groups. So he may have an interesting reelection, but that's a couple years from now. But for now, that angry populism, it reminds me, I've compared it to the 1890s pitchfork populism of guys back then that were angry about the banks and capitalism, and farmers were being screwed, and they legitimately were being screwed. But they blamed everybody instead of holding the specifically the billionaires of the time responsible. They blamed also Jews and immigrants and blacks and others. That to me is a big problem with DSA. Okay. So I want a wing of the party, the McMorrow wing, that wants Medicare for all or some form of universal health care and child care. It wants a much more fair economy, wants workers to be better protected, but also supports everyone's freedom and civil rights, no matter who you are, black, white, gay, straight, Jewish, Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, whatever. And that wing to me is, some of them haven't been in leadership. I wish they would take over. That's the Ted Lieu. We've got a great one coming. Whereas Dick Durbin, to point out, I've often gone after the establishment. Schumer and Jeffries have been terrible leaders, weak, haven't taken on Republicans. Well, instead of Durbin, we're going to get Juliana Stratton there from your old state. And I think she is going to be a badass. She, I think, has talked about it. She's going to be a fighting Democrat to me, and she's for the things I'm for. Getting rid of ICE and making it a demilitarized group, and treating immigration as it should be treated, not as a military problem. Medicare or some form of health care for all. That's Ted Lieu. That's Chris Murphy. That's Juliana Stratton. That's Mallory McMorrow. That's the FDR wing. I want to call it Roosevelt Democrats. I'm a Roosevelt Democrat, which means the moderates have sat here and they fiddled as America has burned and watched Trump and not stood up to Trump and let him get away with unbelievable things and not even sent him sternly worded letters. But the answer isn't to have such angry populists that that make Israel their top issue, that say denigrating things about Black Americans. I mean, the fact that Chevalier in New York could claim that black men have a weird fetish for white women, some shit right out of like, the early 20th century Jim Crow, white politics, anti-black politics, right? Birth of a nation. That she could say that and there's no repercussions is ludicrous. That she could say that we shouldn't support Ukraine and that it's Ukraine's fault that Russia invaded is ludicrous. That she could say that women, white women are ugly white colonizers is ludicrous. You don't even have to go to the anti-Semitism. She seems to hate everybody.
So let me provide a little bit of context to everything you're saying. And I can relate to it because of where I come from. The problem is that, and you alluded to this, the Democratic Party, the establishment, the leadership, the moderate wing has fucking sucked and has not met the moment. And what that's done is it's unleashed, like back in the Tea Party day, the Republican establishment, same thing. And it unleashed the Tea Party. Same thing's going on now. The left has been unleashed, the Democratic Socialists. And that's where the populist fervor is. And you're going to get, just like we did in the Tea Party, we got some whack jobs during that wave. You're getting some whack jobs now on the left in their populist uprising. What's interesting is, do you? I think you still need to call out the whack jobs of the party.
No, I'm going to. I just said, I've been going back and forth with certain other commentators, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. I think it's a stupid waste of my time.
Cliff, it is. It is because because I was such an asshole for years. I don't get personal and divisive, but.
You're better at that than me, though. When I get in an argument with somebody,
I'm older
insult
than
me
you.
personally, I tend to go after them personally, and then we get nowhere.
So, and again, the context here is, and we're not going to get personal and ugly. You and I are very pro-Israel. There were some.
We have some disagreement. I'm not pro. Let me be clear.
Oh, you and I disagree on Israel.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, you're more pro. I think Netanyahu is a horror.
I do. Well, I do not believe he's a war criminal, but continue.
Okay, I believe he's a war criminal, not just for what he's done recently, but for numerous reasons. And I think if you were to look at Netanyahu in the way he's tried to undermine democracy in Israel by getting rid of an independent judiciary, some of the stuff Trump's done, I would think you'd have a problem with that.
Oh, a huge problem. I want him gone. I think he belongs in jail. I just don't think he's a war criminal.
Okay, that fair enough. So I think that.
But and I'm not. You and I kind of talked about it before, Israel. I'm way out there. Like, I don't even believe in a two-state solution until the Palestinians can get their fucking act together. So forget about it. But what's important, Cliff, is there are commentators on the left, Mehdi Hassan and Wajahat Ali, who we've gotten into a bit of a kerfuffle with in the last week or two. And again, not to get personal or ugly, revolving around this word genocide.
Yes.
And what's interesting just is I do not believe Israel's committed genocide at all. But when I put that in front of Mehdi and Wajahat, knowing we disagree, the response I got was basically, anybody who holds that position that Israel did not commit genocide is an immoral piece of shit. And so then what I asked Mehdi and Wajahat was, is it possible for a good person to believe that Israel is not committing genocide? Is that possible?
Right.
And why? Because I'm not going to debate I'd be happy to have a discussion about genocide with them, but I just asked them that question. Is it possible to believe Israel's not committing genocide? Or if you believe that, are you immoral? And Wajahat got back to me and pretty much said, if you hold that position, you're not a good person. And Cliff, that just makes me sad, because that tells me we can't agree to disagree on that issue. And I think that's a bad place to be.
Well, what I don't understand, and again, this is the thing, and a lot of this is driven by Russian, Chinese, other propaganda to divide us. They're pushing this into people's feeds and algorithms. Why is it like I could say right now that I don't think that what's going on in Sudan is a genocide, which by the way, it absolutely is. And if you were to look at the horror show there, by body count, it leaves anything in Gaza behind. They'd be fine with that. DSA would be fine with that. Why is that not important? Why is Saudi Arabia destroying Yemeni children not important, especially considering now that Trump wants to make them a nuclear power? Why isn't that something that is morally? And my problem is like you get called these names because you don't have the exact same position, but you don't have the same position on healthcare. You don't have the same position on a number of things. Does that make you don't have the same position on a number of other of these issues? I think the most obvious genocide going on right now that at least is getting public attention is Ukraine, where Russia for a number of years has been literally killing, kidnapping, raping, destroying, purposely attacking civilian buildings and civilian infrastructure. And you look at various other places where the same things are going on, and so it ends up becoming sort of, do we have to play a game of genocide here, genocide there? Like, why this?
But even Cliff, even the argument about the substance of genocide aside, put that aside. What they're saying to me is, you can't hold that position.
Are you about to
That's what they said to me. If you hold that position, you're not a moral person.
Are you about to announce something, Joe?
What? No. What do you? No.
You about to become an independent again, perhaps?
Oh, well, that's probably going to happen, but not.
I just wanted you to announce it on our show if you're.
I will. I'm not there yet. It's just like if we've gotten to like Cliff. I don't believe in whatever a livable wage is. I don't believe in Medicare for all. Can I not hold those positions like we just disagree? Or because I hold those positions, I'm immoral? And that's what Wajahat and the others said to me. And I that makes me sad.
But what's incredible to me is,
by the way, I respect Mehdi and Wajahat's opinion that they believe it is genocide, but it's not a two-way street.
Right. It's not.
That's all.
And what's amazing to me is that has been elevated when we have supported any cast of horrific characters. And again, it's not to say that shouldn't be talked about, and that Bibi Netanyahu being a fascist and staying in power, at least having, those qualities, he's not a fascist in that he didn't take over. There are elections, but he certainly, in a Trump-like way, has managed to stay in party when he's supported by a minority of the population. Like, he always finds a couple of assholes to add to his coalition. Like, over there's the one party that believes that space aliens came down and implanted their eggs in us. How many votes do you guys have? 3? Come join the coalition, and we'll probe every Israeli. He finds ways to be a minority and say the way Trump does here, but the fascistic in the way he behaves. The same.
You know what it's like, Cliff. When the Tea Party came to the fore, most of us wanted the Republican Party to succeed. We believed the Republican Party needed to be more Tea Party to win. But Cliff, there was a third of us Tea Party guys that didn't give a fuck if the Republican Party won. They wanted to take the party down.
How about you? Where were you?
Oh, I'm trying to remake the Republican Party. I want the Republican Party to win. I was part of the majority. But we're seeing the same thing now. It's like I've asked some of these DSA folks, do you want the Democratic Party to win, or would you rather control the Democratic Party? What's your end game?
Right. Are you asking me? Or
no, because we had that problem in the Tea Party.
Right.
There were people in the Tea Party who only wanted to control the party.
Here's where I am. If they want to stem the energy behind some of these kookier people who think that there's a black imperial structure and that there's a white colonizer women are ugly.
Who
and
think capitalism is evil? Who think capitalism
is evil? Who think that we should get rid of all prisons? I mean, again, I've always believed. I was in the Innocence Project for 8 years here. I believe that everyone deserves a competent lawyer, a fair trial, and our system is based way too much on money and corrupt. I also believe that for all non-violent offenders, small drug, not the guys on Wall Street. I think some of them should go to jail for more time, but ones that, selling, you sold pot no, that doesn't matter anymore, but you sell small amounts of drugs, stuff like that. Those folks shouldn't be in prison. That's insane. And it discriminates and it's dumb. But I mean, all prisons, like, she hasn't answered that question, Chevalier. What happens with murderers then? Like, what happens with rapists? We just, I don't know. They just walk around among the general population. Are we going to just live in this fantasy world where everybody's good and there are no actual sociopaths?
So they need Cliff. You're right. Each one of these DSA candidates need to be asked point blank. Do you want the Democratic Party to win, or do you want DSA to control the Democratic Party? What's your game? What's your end game?
Right. Well, now I'm going to speak to my friends in what I will call the Roosevelt wing. And I call it that for a bunch of reasons.
Roosevelt wing.
Well, watch it, you punk.
Go ahead. I know.
First of all, the first person to propose universal health care was Teddy Roosevelt. The first person to propose conservation as a concept was Teddy Roosevelt. The first person to propose a...
Oh, wait. You're saying Teddy, not FDR.
Yes, Teddy. The first person... See? A Republican. I got you cornered.
No. Some, but a lot of what
first
Teddy
big
proposed,
trust buster who said... You said that large corporations were as dangerous to capitalism as communism was, because without competition, you could not have a thriving capitalist system. Teddy Roosevelt.
You are a Roosevelt
estate tax. Teddy
you
Roosevelt.
Are again, Cliff.
He's my favorite president.
Great. I respect that. I disagree with a hell of a lot of what he did, but don't debate that now. Continue.
Well, let me finish. So, if that wing, and he was a progressive, he believed in rationality, science, was there some populism in him to go kick ass? Yeah, you need a little bit of that sort of angry populism, but it needs to be controlled, because I compared it in a piece I just wrote. It's like a fire. A controlled burn, a controlled purge is good, right? To me, of MAGA. All right. If you let it turn to a wildfire and get out of control, what does it do? It burns everything in its path. And suddenly now, that my comparison to populism is, you're attacking Jews, you're attacking blacks, you're attacking immigrants, you're doing all this kind of stuff. So to me, what needs to be done is a progressive wing with a infused with just enough populism to kick Trump's ass needs to step up. The McMorrows and the Ted Lieu's and Strattons and Murphys and John Ossoff.
So what do you call
and stop listening to these fucking leaders?
What do you call Haley Stevens in Michigan? Is she part of that wing? What is she?
She is not. She's more part of the Schumer wing. But if I have to choose between the Schumer wing and an El Sayed, somebody who, when that synagogue was attacked in Michigan, blamed Israel, I'm going to choose Haley Stevens. I mean, every time. I'm not going to choose somebody who will try to find a way to blame Jews. It's that simple.
And for the record, I support Haley Stevens. Because I think she can win Michigan.
Well, there's that too.
And I've got real concerns about where Abdul El Sayed is on a whole bunch of issues. But then Cliff, like this, as much as I disagree with Abdul El Sayed, he's not Plattner for a lot of reasons. So if he wins that primary in Michigan, and this is a really, really big race, like all Democrats should line up behind him, right?
Yeah. Again, I've said before, for me, anti-Semitism becomes a deal breaker. So I need him to speak honestly, and I need him to explain what he believes. And at that point, I do believe all Democrats should line up behind him, as long as he shows the values of the Democratic Party, the basic values of tolerance and acceptance of everybody. Then absolutely everyone should line up.
But you would not, and I obviously would not, if you believe he was an anti-Semite, you could not support him.
No.
In a general. You would just
again, like, my humanity is not for sale. If you hate me and you want me to be discriminated against, or you think that I should be killed on October 7th, he hasn't said that, by the way. That's Chevalier, so that's different. But if he were to say that, how can I support somebody like that?
Look, there's again, and we don't even need to play lovingly the Jewish card. Anti-Semitism is racism. You and I would never support an open racist for any office.
No, I wouldn't. In fact, that's one of the reasons I don't support Chevalier, because she may, in fact, be black, but if she's sitting there saying that black men have a fetish for white women, that's racist. And if you're saying that kind of shit, maybe you should check yourself, you know? I don't know. I mean, again, why she can get away with saying all sorts of things is and was mainstreamed is still incredible to me. And I think that's one that Mom Donnie's going to pay for, because I think she's going to say, so she's going to end up being like the Lauren Boebert of this caucus, and she's going to win probably because it's a very blue seat. Oh, and she's going to end up saying this. I mean, she's going to end up saying offensive things constantly, because she said 1,000 offensive things in no time. She seemingly has offended white women, black men. She said that about Arabic men too, by the way, them, Jews. I mean, I don't know who she hasn't offended at this point.
And by the way, my former colleague, Mike Rogers, who's the Republican candidate in Michigan, came out this morning on a private call with donors, said, fuck yeah, I want to run against Abdul El-Sayed. He'd be much easier to beat. That's what Republicans believe.
So to me, there's two different concerns here. There's who can win statewide, and there's the moral concern. And I have to weigh both of those, and both of those tell me absolutely Haley Stevens by leaps and bounds.
But if the moral concern of yours was addressed and you felt fine about it, then whoever wins that nomination, you and I would say, every Democrat needs to line up behind the nominee. By the way, Cliff,
every Senate seat we can get. So,
and by the way, Cliff, it goes both ways. So when the left and DSA people in Michigan are pissed off because Stevens won the primary, they better not sit on their ass and not vote for her in the general, like a lot of people, right? A lot of people in Michigan sat on their ass and didn't vote for Kamala Harris in the 2024 election.
And like 24% or something of, I believe, the Arab population.
A lot of the Muslim American population.
But here would be my answer to that question. Like, I don't know how else to say this, and I don't want to say this in a disrespectful way, but those folks that did that, if they had relatives and friends in Gaza, chose to have Bibi Netanyahu target them. They elected Donald Trump, who would give Bibi Netanyahu a free rein. So if they haven't learned anything from what happened in 2024, I'm not going to threaten them. They're threatening themselves. If they want to give Donald Trump more free rein to do what he wants in Gaza, which he wants to turn into a hotel, that's going to hurt them. And if they want to hurt themselves, I guess there's not much I can do. It'd be pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But
if Stevens wins the primary and the far left and the Muslim American population in Michigan stays home, they're electing a Republican senator.
Correct.
And they got nothing to complain about.
And there's very few ways we end up winning a Democratic majority in the Senate without.
Forget it. Yeah, forget it. Seat. If that's a Republican pickup, forget it.
Yeah, forget it. I mean, Democrats might get lucky and then barely win 51, 52 seats, but that would include John Fetterman, who may switch to the Republican Party. So, I mean, again, you're putting yourself in a position where you're empowering Trump to do whatever he wants with Gaza and just about anywhere else.
But Cliff, again,
so I won't be threatened. I want to say quickly and go ahead. I won't be threatened by that. Like, my whole thing is, you either can be a mature adult in a democracy and go out and advocate for your group. And the only way I said I wouldn't vote for a Democrat is if they openly were hostile to me for my background. Well, if you choose to not vote for somebody who would be better for people of your background and empower Donald Trump, who quite clearly hates all Muslims, or he wouldn't have had a Muslim ban, then I guess that's what you're choosing to do.
Well, yeah. And those Muslim Americans in Michigan and far left folk who stay at home if Stevens is the nominee, they are telling us they don't give a damn about the Democratic Party. They want to take over the party. That's clear. But Cliff,
they're also telling me they don't give a shit about Gaza.
Yeah. About anything, about fascism in America or anything.
Well, I care more that kids don't die in Gaza than they do, apparently.
But like again, I don't want to beat this to death, but to me, like, it's perfectly fine to respectfully disagree about abortion, banning AR-15s, Medicare for all, and genocide.
I think you're wrong as fuck, Joe. I'll say that right now. But you know what? That's what democracy is. And the whole principle of democracy is that we come together and we don't get everything we want, and we put aside certain things. And I know these are issues that are crucial to a lot of us. They're crucial to me. I would fight you every day of the week on those issues. But I would respect you still and treat you like a human being.
At the end of the day, at the end of the fight, you and I would respectfully agree to disagree. What makes me so sad is when it comes to this genocide issue, Wajahat and Mehdi and others don't even acknowledge that. You cannot have that position. That's weird. That's wrong. And that's a real problem. And by the way, if you want to grow your tent, that's no way to grow your tent, because I may be crazy Joe Walsh, but there are a lot of center left people. There are a lot of Jews in America who typically vote Democrat who don't believe Israel's committed genocide.
You're absolutely right. And who don't believe it's a genocide, but B, don't focus on this so obsessively as to not look at other foreign policy issues where there's mass killing going on right now, because you really should be paying attention to everything going on and not this to the exclusion of everything else. So if you're going to exclude everybody else who doesn't believe it, and that includes, what was it? At the War College, one of the experts on genocide there, who said this is not a genocide. I know some people have said it is, but I don't think that there is a clear consensus. And if anybody brings up the UN, I'm going to laugh, because the UN is been so anti-Semitic since. I mean, Russian propaganda was aimed directly at developing world countries, and they distributed the protocols of the Elders of Zion after the 67 war in numerous parts of the Arab world. So the fact that there's so much hatred, if the UN's willing to put, I'll give you two quick examples. Willing to put Iran on its like, what was it? The Security, it was the Security Council. And if they're willing to not do a fucking thing, when I was fighting to try to save as many Armenians as we could in southern Azerbaijan, in this ethnic enclave that has always been for 1,000, 2,000 years Armenian, and they decided they were going to go in and ethnically cleanse it, and we couldn't get the UN to do a damn thing. But man, somebody in Israel sneezes and Israel's committing a genocide. Like so I don't trust a goddamn thing that the UN says on these issues.
Any supporter of Israel's should have stopped listening to the UN years ago. It is an anti-Semitic institution, full stop.
It is. I mean, I think they've had more resolutions against Israel. And you're like, do you guys remember Pol Pot? Like, do you remember Idi Amin? I mean, do you remember people that literally like are in the all-star club for mass murderers in the tens of, millions is what we're talking about. And, I mean, like, one person who I've never considered a friend, I will happily rip apart, who's horrific, Hassan Piker, coming out in his Mao Zedong, outfit and saying that Mao was good. A conservative estimate is that Mao killed 50 million people. So as I put up on Twitter, you got to break a few eggs, Joe, to make an omelet, and you may have to starve 50 million people to get
Look, Cliff.
I mean, Abdul, you're supporting that guy. I don't want to be anywhere fucking near you.
Abdul El Sayed welcomed Hassan Piker's endorsement, did an event with him. Man, in my book, that's like just disqualified.
That's one of my big problems. I mean, again, that to me, there's certain things to me that are a tell in terms of either whether you're anti-Semitic or you're completely willing to tolerate anti-Semitism.
And oh, by the way, you're anti-American. And oh, by the way, you're pro-Putin. And oh, by the way, you're pro-Mao. And oh, way you're.
Hey,
by
can
the
I
way,
say something else?
pro-communist.
Can I say something else? Because I was there on that day, 9/11. I was down by the World Trade Center. I saw the second plane hit. I saw people crying as it exploded. I saw bodies falling, like as they call it, like dry leaves, I believe, as Bruce Springsteen called it in one of his songs in The Rising. I saw the destruction afterwards. I was on my way there. 20 minutes later, I would have been there because I was there as election day in New York. My mom has a friend who lost her son who was in that building. So where I will not hold back, Hassan Piker having a framed picture of the burning towers behind him, fuck you. I mean, honestly, that's one person I will not hold back on. I want nothing to do with. He's a scumbag. He's anti-American. He's anti-everything, and doesn't belong on any campaign or in any respectful position.
So
anywhere.
to be clear, Cliff Schecter, not to put you on the spot, I know where I am. Any Democrat who doesn't condemn Hassan Piker or welcomes his support, that's a red line for me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to need to hear if El Sayed is the nominee. I'm going to need to hear the reasons that he doesn't support. Yeah, there you are, Jim. That Tuesday morning is a day I will never forget from Jim Williams. Me either. Tuesday, 8:45 a.m. I was out there going between polling places. It was Delancey and Ridge from an old school I was standing on, less than a mile, I believe, away from as the second plane came in, and I saw it in slow motion, and it will be with me for the rest of my life. That 1 minute seemed like it took forever as I saw the plane come in, as the explosion went out into the Canyon of Heroes downtown and echoed. Honestly, it echoed like someone had just set off a nuclear bomb, and the destruction, the people marching up past Houston up Lafayette Street, who are covered in dust and who are injured, who are being helped, who had blood on them. No, I will never forget that. And if you frame that and put that on your wall behind you, man, I'll just stop myself before I say some things I regret about that guy. But that is a red line, and I'm going to need to hear from someone like El Sayed, that somebody who thinks America deserved 9/11 and thinks that October 7th, there were no rapes that day, it didn't really happen, as Hassan Piker has said and other stuff. I'm going to need to hear him condemn that, all of that.
Look, partner, I've been very upfront with you for a year in that I don't know how long I'll be a Democrat. You know why I became a Democrat. No regrets. But you have welcomed me with open arms. A lot of people have, but a lot of people haven't. I want the Democratic Party.
That's because I think, you're kind of cute. So
I know that. We've talked about that offline.
Okay. Like the homosexual sort of tension is.
Yeah, I know. It's good for ratings, Cliff. I want, not that I'll be a part of it, but I want the Democratic Party to have a knockdown, drag them out, fucking open to the public brawl debate about who they are as a party. I want that to happen after the midterms. I want us focused on Trump and my former party. Let's beat the fuck out of them. And this fight's got to come, Cliff. After the midterms, it's got to come.
There are so many of these sort of progressive folks. I know some of them personally. I mean, Jimmy Raskin is a great one, right? And whatever, that are progressive, strong. They are for universal health care, universal child care. They are for defanging ICE, getting rid of it so it's a non-militaristic organization. Everything that DSA, for the most part, claims to be for, except for the social exclusion and the elimination of capitalism. And that is my wing. That is my progressive wing that believes in well-regulated capitalism, that believes that there are certain industries, healthcare, others, that capitalism has not handled well and can't, so that we need to government to step in. And I need those folks to step up and push aside these mushy centrist leaders after the midterms, as you're saying. because that is where the energy needs to go, into the ascendant, progressive, rational, scientific, forward-looking wing, not into the angry pitchfork wielders.
The fly in your ointment, Cliff Schecter, is this.
There's a lot of flies in my ointment.
A lot of flies. We cannot downplay this. This Israel issue right now is the most powerful animating force on the left. It's become a litmus test. I do not believe a Democrat can become the nominee in 28 unless they publicly acknowledge Israel's committed a genocide. There's no way a Joe Walsh or another Democrat who does not believe Israel's committed genocide could ever get the Democratic Party nomination. I think that's where the party is. I think that's a bad place to be, and I don't think it's a winning place to be, but I think that's where the party is.
And again, you've just made the best argument possible. Yes, I think somebody pointing out Kiros in there blames 9/11 on the United States, the one that won in Boulder or Colorado, who also said that I mean, again, I don't know how you can be more stupid than this. And I guess I'm being disrespectful to her, but I think she's being purposely obtuse because she worked at a big law firm. She's clearly smarter than this. If somebody tosses a firebomb into a crowd of Jews who are holding a vigil for Jews that were kidnapped on October 7th.
Hello.
That's the reason they're there. And an 82-year-old Holocaust survivor is killed and others are burned. And the guy who does it yells, "I want all to kill all Zionists," as they pull him away. And you say, "I don't know what was in his heart." You don't deserve to be in power. And if I were in that district and she did not step up and say exactly what that incident was, she's another one I would not vote for. That's my red line. You dehumanize me and you think my family's worth nothing? You think an 82-year-old Holocaust survivor is worth nothing? You're worth nothing as far as I'm concerned. I will never support you. So this is what needs to happen. And you're making the argument, Joe, for the wing of the party I'm talking about. Because if they don't step into that space, if progressives don't push aside the mushy older centrists in most cases and step into that space of rational, optimistic, inclusive progressivism with enough populism to kick the shit out of Trump electorally, then what's going to step into that is going to be the furthest elements of the DSA, and you're going to be right about 2020.
Do you agree or disagree with me that the Democratic nominee for president in 2028 must believe and say that Israel's committed genocide?
No, the reason I don't is I still have hope for my progressive wing.
Oh, you've got hope. Yeah. Keep hope alive.
I know what you're saying, but you know what? There have been so many moments in our history. There are moments, after Buchanan, who was an absolute fucking wreck and supported the South. And Abraham Lincoln was not there at that moment and someone else had been there. So if it had been McClellan or someone like that, the South would have been the ones. We'd have slavery still at this point in time. If FDR, if Teddy Roosevelt hadn't been there when he was there, if FDR hadn't been there when he was there, and we can go on and on. I believe because there have been times before where it looked hopeless and the right person came along, and we may not even know who that is right now because, as you know, often that's somebody, that leader that steps into that space and gets people to follow them. That charismatic, progressive, Roosevelt-like leader might come out of these midterms. And
right.
They often do. Nobody knew who Barack Obama was.
No, I agree.
He was president.
I agree. But let's not forget, the energy in this party, baby, is over there, baby, cranking up on the left, the far left. That's where the base is.
You're right. And that's why, again, a progressive wing needs to step up of the actual Democratic Party, not an outside group that's just taking the Democratic Party for a ride. And that, to me, is what needs to happen. And believes in the inclusive progressive vision of that the Democratic Party has generally always favored. The Southern wing, not so much. But you know what I'm getting at overall, at least in recent years. And so that's what I have hope because I've seen it happen plenty of times before. I've seen moments where it looked bleak as hell. I've read enough about history of moments where it's sort of almost shocking. I mean, again, what happens if Aaron, what happens if, what's his name? Aaron Burr had been leading the revolution instead of George Washington? Where the hell would we be right now? we'd probably speak with British accents, which might be better for us, by the way. But that's a different argument. I've asked some of my British friends to take us back, and no luck yet. But again,
well, everybody who has that accent, Cliff, sounds so damn smart.
They really do.
Yes,
they're so. So again, like we have had, when we've needed those folks to step forward historically, they have, and we're going to need it again.
I'll leave it at that. We need it again. You and I disagree on whether that person will rise, but we damn well need it.
Oh, I'm not saying they definitely will. I'm saying I have hope, because there have instances before where I think someone who'd been sitting there at the
hope and change.
You should have been a preacher. You and Mike Huckabee, man. You guys could have gone out on the road.
My God.
That guy, Jesus. But all I'm saying is, man, can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine if you've been sitting there at certain moments during the early 1860s and been like, shit, we're going to lose this war? If you've been there,
you saw me preach about 5 months ago. Fuck Trump! The midterms are happening, baby.
That was one of the best speeches I'm not even lying to you.
It was a 1 minute speech.
One of the best speeches I've ever seen live was that speech you gave at, like you had control of that crowd. You knew when to, as somebody who's a speechwriter, you knew when to slow down and let the applause ring. You knew when to jump back in. You just have that naturally, Joe.
You know why I was but I was also pissed off. You know why? Because the guy who spoke before me, what's his name? I think the former Democratic governor of Montana, went on and on and on for like 9 minutes, and we were each given 2 minutes. I was like beside myself. So
I want to answer something in there, and this is an important point. Stephanie, I know older black folks are not anti-Israel. They're anti-Netanyahu. Like black right now, Haley Stevens is winning overwhelmingly among the black population.
This is a
reason why the Congressional Black Caucus has endorsed her. Making these arguments I'm making for a progressive wing of the party that I'm making, and not DSA, is because the two most loyal groups who have voted the most Democratic, Black Americans and Jewish Americans, are united on this. On wanting a progressive alternative to the mushy middle, but not believing DSA is it.
In fact, Jim Clyburn, South Carolina.
Yep. He endorsed Stevens.
Yeah, and in an interview the other day, he said, "I saw one of Abdul El Said's rallies. There wasn't one face that looked like me."
Yep.
Stevens is destroying Abdul El Said right now when it comes to black voters in Michigan.
Yep.
If he gets the nomination, Cliff, he's got a lot of work to do to get.
He really, I mean, objectively speaking, he does. I mean, again,
oh my gosh,
when you're talking about the two most key Democratic voting groups, and they both really don't like you, you got work to do. I'll say what Clyburn said is actually funnier. You didn't give him full credit for the humor. He's like, I didn't think you could get so few black faces in a room in Detroit, is what he said. Like, he was like, how is that even possible to have so few black faces in a room? And that's the thing that when people leave out, when they leave out about the DSA, and I'm so glad Stephanie brought it up, that when we just make it about Jews and DSA, black voters do not like DSA. They are not a part of it. They have often not been a part of these movements. They didn't like Bernie, never did, never will. And so.
Well, by the way, Cliff, to buttress what you're saying, Chevalier in New York City, she won. White people, Latinos and blacks in that district didn't vote for her.
No, they did not. Exactly. So again, I feel pretty comfortable.
By the way, one other quick point and then finish us. And this matters too. 50% of the money the Democratic Party raises every year comes from Jewish Americans. 50%.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Well, and they recently put out an emergency call because a lot of that money's not coming in right now.
Exactly.
Again, don't ask somebody to vote for their own, execution. Don't ask somebody to give money for their own hanging. Don't ask somebody. I mean, this is what I keep saying. And I guess it's just been so tough for me to not understand how other people don't get this, why I even have to explain myself. When somebody says black imperialism, like that nutbag in Michigan, right away everybody gets how ridiculous that is and how racist it is and stupid, right? That this rich white leftist is being held down by the black leadership. Okay, pal, you've had it tough. But for some reason, it just seems like as Jews, we have to explain it. And I don't understand what it is that I have to explain, that if you hate me and you insult me and you make excuses for why synagogues are attacked and blame it on me and hang out with people, like Hassan Piker, who think I'm subhuman, that I might not support you.
Jews are forced to explain it.
Why do I have to explain that?
Jews, I'll tell you why. Jews are forced to explain it year after year after year because there's so fucking much anti-Semitism out there, period. Hey, Cliff, partner, I got to hop.
Do you have your oh, no, that's not at 7. So what you doing in between?
Right now, I have.
Oh, God. All right, don't tell us.
I literally have to hop, like now. Finish us.
Enjoy your hopping.
Love you.
Love you too. I'm going to get out of here too. I have to go on a walk and get some exercise with my kid. Watch Joe try to get out of here, everybody. I'm not going to let him out. It's just so we can watch.
Mabel.
No, Joe, do you want me to let you go? Joe, do you want me to remove you?
Let's go outside.
Can you not hear me? This is hilarious. Joe. Okay. Guys, yeah, well, you're right, Stephanie. Anti-Israel rhetoric in the same way isn't going to fly in November. This show really have to show us that. That's Joe. I don't have to take a crap. No, I actually am serious. I'm lucky enough to have kids I actually like, in fact, love, and one of them wants to go on a nice long speed walk with me. We go to the gym together and lift and all sorts of stuff. And I'm lucky. He's here for the summer, and I'm excited about it. So no toilet paper for me. I'm going to get out of here. I hope we gave you the discussion you're looking for. I wanted to bring this to a more positive place. It's gotten to a very negative place the last couple of days. I don't enjoy that. I hope other folks don't enjoy that. We all let sort of, all this stuff get, end up getting personal and I'm going to still criticize El-Side, and I'm still going to criticize candidates who I believe are wrong for the Democratic Party. But I'm going to try my best to refrain from going after commentators. There's exceptions. Hassan Piker is an absolute piece of shit. And I can't not hold back there. But on other folks, yeah, I'm going to hold back on that. And just try to do the best to deal in good faith and remain positive in the vision that I see a progressive wing of this party, not pitchfork wielding, swinging it in all directions, not caring if you hit a black person or a Jew or a Latino or whatever, but focusing it on billionaires in MAGA, where it should be focused, and having a progressive, better vision of us all united for the future. And that's it. With that, folks, I'm out of here. I got a walk to go on. So as the sun sets slowly in the west.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, follow, and share The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple, Spotify. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to The Social Contract on Substack. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.